Hi, Sue Ellam here. I'm a professional tarot reader. I've been reading the cards for 25 years, and the deck I'm using here are the Mythic Tarot, and they're based on Greek mythology. And over to my colleague.
Hi there, I'm Carrie Beleno, and I am an intuitive and a Reiki master teacher for 20 some years. And I have a question for Sue now.
Thank you.
All right. So she's going to start with the tarot, and I'm going to follow in with the messages that I receive. So how do we move through the grief that racial attacks are generating?
It's not easy, is it?
Certainly not. I guess that could include any attacks, but at the moment,
yeah, we'll talk about racial first, and then we can always ask another question in the future about that. Because it affects everybody in every country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We need to be quiet. We need to take time to ourselves. We need not to support anything that is about kind of any, I suppose I'm saying protests here. And the reason I'm saying that is because what's just popped into my head is somebody that was always working for cancer relief, and her whole life became about supporting people with cancer and everything, and she ended up catching cancer, getting it, and it's like because her whole life was revolved around it, and it kind of came home to her in a way. And that's I said that's not a judgment or whatever, but that's just what popped into my head. So by supporting, it's such a difficult one, because you want to have your voice heard, but if you can let your voice be silent and your energy be felt, so listening to what your inner voice is telling you, sending out these, going into meditation about it, get people, these group meditations are really powerful. Nobody's saying a word, but so much is actually changing when people concentrate en masse without getting into anything that could potentially end up in violence. Because the problem with it, if you've got the best intentions, you don't know. As soon as a protest march, and I picked up on protest march for some reason, because this card is saying being on your own, and I know there's lots of protests going on, but the problem is with these protest marches, we don't know. There are plants in them. There are people that go in there to cause problems, to turn the energy of them into something that it's not, and then all the peacemakers end up adding to the problem. And I think that's so. It's working quietly, because it's about expansion. It's about moving around and your life getting bigger. So by doing the work internally and energetically, and joining together with people of like mind to do the same, then the world will expand. It will. You will find that don't feel so imprisoned in a system that's unfair, because, and you're going to be able to be very proud of yourself, pat yourself on the back and say, well done, I've done really well. The problem is that people generally, unless they can see it, they don't believe it. But we can't see air, yet it keeps us alive. So people you know, unless, and there's a certain amount of pressure. People say, well, if you really believe that, you would come out and march about it, or let your voice be known about it if you really cared. That's how we make change. And I think a lot of people have different functions as well. Some people are meant to be out there, and some people aren't. But it's how we do it. There can be voices out there, but they don't necessarily march. They just talk and bring awareness in a peaceful way. And then it's ordinary everyday life. So it's being grounded, not getting het up and caught up in the drama. There's so much drama that goes on. So it's important not to get caught up in the drama. And also to make plans. Where do I want to be in 6 months' time? Where do I want to be in 12 months' time? Where do I want all this to have gone in that time? What can I do myself to make that happen? Maybe write about it. You know, there's always, if you have to express your ideas and you think they're really important, write about it, or do videos about it, if that. But don't make yourself vulnerable to be circumvented. You know, you've got to work very hard. You've got to keep vigilant, keep ahead of the game. So it's a lot. You know, keep this project very much in your mind about this. Again, it's about not getting. Listen to your intuition as well. It's not getting tied up in situations which someone else can have an impact on and turn it to their advantage. So it's keeping, I said, going back to this card. Listen to what your inner voice is telling you. Be patient. Everything happens when the time is right. And there's other ways than getting into warlike demonstrations, which often they turn into, because there are people, there are plants, there are people that come to disrupt. So it's yeah. So that, anyway, that's the cards. I think I've waffled a bit there, but those are the cards.
Yeah, and I feel that waffling, and I'm waffling as well. And part of the reason, I think, is because we don't want to try to boil this down to an answer. And even though we see it from an energetic or an emotional perspective, it's hard to balance that with the true passionate sadness and the grief that's going on out there. And we don't mean at all to come across trite, because we understand the grief around the lives that are impacted. But by the same token, we are trying to maintain this vibrational perspective, because that's what we believe is the antidote, and that's where we believe humanity should be uniting. And so we're trying to, for all of you, balance those two things, and it does cause us to waffle a little bit. Something that I've been talking about for years is what I call energy tails, and tails, Tails, and what I believe happens, and this is the reasoning behind what happened with that cancer advocate that Sue mentioned, is that we put our emotional energy into something, and what happens is all the like-minded, like energetic, like vibrational people and theories and ideas attach themselves to that vibration. And we are subjected to carrying the weight of all of that vibration. And as a human, as a soul in human form, we can't carry all of that. And if we don't dispose of it or not attract it, it gets too heavy and we can succumb to it. So the biggest message I have is that when you go into an angry situation or a desperate situation or a grief-stricken situation, and you are feeling that emotion as well, all of that, those people's emotions are going to compound themselves onto you. And it's much, much more difficult to shake off and even determine what's yours and what's all of theirs to move forward. And that's why we're asking you to be hesitant about joining with that like-minded emotion, because it's amplified. And while it sounds super, super trite to say, get a group meditation together and be with like-minded, that doesn't feel like it's going to make a difference. But Sue and I, coming from an energetic perspective, a perspective that knows that that energy is powerful. We have seen it work in our lives. We have seen it work in hundreds, if not thousands of clients' lives. And we know that that energy is powerful. So don't discount your need to join with people in quiet or to join with people in a loving situation as an antidote for that angry, grief-stricken energy, because that does matter. We as humans I've said this in other videos, have loved to rise to the occasion when we have trauma. We have loved to bring out the best in our advocacy selves when there's trauma. And what this transition that we're in right now is trying to teach us is that we no longer need trauma to rise up. We no longer need drama and pain to become our best selves. And Sue and I are encouraging you now to become your best selves by going within, decide what it is you want, shift your career, write, connect with others, and use that energy as a powerful moving forward force without the trauma attached to it.
And while you were talking, I was remembering a news story that was from the States, I think, and excuse me if I've got the details wrong, but the message is saying, it's like, I think somebody kind of burnt to the ground somebody's church in some place, and I think maybe there could be Jewish and Islamic, so totally different faiths, but the church that wasn't burnt, the other people, sorry, this is the emotion of it. They said, come and use ours. That is what we're talking about. Sorry, just the emotion of it all, it's kind of, it catches me sometimes, because, you know, people have said to me in the past, or intimated, they said, it's okay for you, you're a white woman, you know, you don't understand. Well, I've got Jamaican godchildren. Well, my closest friend was Jamaican, and I mean, she passed away a few years ago with cancer. We were like sisters, and her mother used to call me her white daughter, and sometimes I was the only white person in the room, and we were joined at the hip for 20 odd years. So I have seen prejudice in action. I've witnessed that. We would go out, and her black friends would kind of get between us and have their back to me, because they said, well, why are you walking around with a white woman? You know, well, we're here. And she would have the same, you know, if she was, but our friendship and our love for each other was stronger than that. And I said, I'm godmother to her children, and it's not. We didn't see the difference. Oh, we could see the difference, but so I do know. I have seen firsthand the prejudice that is rife. So it's not about, you can't judge somebody just by, oh, well, you're okay because you're white. Yes, I do understand the privilege of it, but I also have walked beside someone who, and her and her children have had, prejudice kind of thrown at them. So I do understand. That's why I felt I needed to say that, because it's not, again, as you said, the right word, trite. It isn't kind of this. I'm not trying to put a fluffy answer onto this. I'm very, very aware of the damage of it. But it's when people, as you said quite rightly, gather together in emotion. If people are singing a song, the emotion soars and it brings people together, and it's awe-inspiring. But if the emotion is grief, then it can so easily turn to anger and blame, and it's a different kind of energetic. And then, as I said, you get the people in there who are just there for trouble. Sometimes they're paid. Sometimes they're paid. You've got people paid to disrupt various things. It's so that I felt I needed to say that.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I hope that's been of help to a very important question. So anyway, bye from me.
Thank you, and so long. See you later.